What saga with at least 5 books is absolutely worth the read? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy counts. And yes, the books put the movie to shame. Discworld. First Law series from Joe Abercrombie if grim dark fantasy clicks for you. All the books, not just the first trilogy. Stephen King. The Dark Tower series. The Expanse. Not sure what you mean by saga, but I'm finishing up my 3rd time through the Expanse series and it holds up. For maybe a more saga series, Malazan Book of the Fallen is absolutely epic. World building to the nth degree. Plus there are a bunch of related books that add on to the story once you are done with the primary series. You can get lost in those worlds for a long time. A series of unfortunate events. I liked Cirque du Freak. I think it was 12 books. Read it as a kid, but there is a chance it sucked. Vampire series. And I'm remembering it wrong. Raymond Feist's Riftwar Saga edit. Screwed the name up. The Berenstein Bears. The Black Company Chronicles. Nancy Drew. Stormlight Archives. If I get to count the novellas, anything by Sanderson tbh. Red Rising, by Pierce Brown. Animorphs. If you're into fantasy, The Wheel of Time is my favorite series of all time. I'm currently on my 5th reread and it just keeps getting better. Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I also heard good things about his Codex series, but I haven't read them myself. Horatio Hornblower, by C.S. Forrester. Old Man's War by John Scalzi. David Eddings' The Belgarian novels. Some say it too similar to Tolkien, but I loved the series. I really love The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Even though the last 2 were written by someone attempting to continue the original author's work. Chronicles of Amber by Roger Zelazny. Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. If you like fantasy, The Incarnations of Immortality, Dragon Riders of Pern, and Dragonlance Chronicles are all amazing. The Fablehaven series by Brandon Mull was one of my favorites growing up. I got the first book at a Scholastic book fair and read the rest as they got published. The world-building skills that Mull has, if my memory serves me right, was wonderful. I liked a series of unfortunate events as a kid. The Cradle series by Will White is amazing. The final book is coming out later this year. Basically, if you enjoy martial arts epics, or shonen anime like Dragon Ball, Naruto, or even Avatar: The Last Airbender, you'll live this series. Unsouled is the first book. Save while it starts off a little slow. It really builds the world well, and has some great payoff moments. One fantasy series one like a lot that I don't hear mentioned often is the DeVere novels by Catherine Kerr. The stories kind of jump around, but there's a thread of reincarnation that connects them. And the various magic elements are pretty interesting. James Clavell's Asian Saga, which starts with Shogun, set ca. 1600 Japan, and ends with Whirlwind, set ca. 1979 in Iran. They weren't written chronologically, but I recommend reading them that way. I've reread all of the books at least twice. Some a half-dozen times. Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. Outlander is really good. The Witcher's books. Suki Stackhouse books. The book's True Blood is based on Percy Jackson, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Wheel of Time. An epic with incredible character arcs and a rewarding conclusion. The Death Gate Cycle by Weiss and Hickman. Interview with the Vampire. The Vampire Lestat. The Queen of the Damned. The Tale of the Body Thief. Memnick the Devil. Brandon Sanderson Cosmere. Harry Potter. A Song of Ice and Fire even if he doesn't finish it, which he will. Repairman Jack was cool. Valdemar. Arrows Trilogy. Winds Trilogy. By the Sword. And then Storm Trilogy. In that order. There are a lot more, but honestly, the quality is all over the map. And mostly downhill after the author married a guy who thinks he can write but absolutely cannot. But those 10 books are amazing. The Malazan Book of the Fallen is the only series one have enjoyed enough to read more than 10 books of. I love the memorable characters. It also has a very deep and detailed world, magic system, and god pantheon. If that's your sort of thing. Mission Earth. No. I'm not a Scientologist. The Bartimaeus Cycle, but there are only 4 books, I think. The Belgariad by David Eddings. Digestible and easy to read, was my first introduction to fantasy writing. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy. The Pendragon series. Fear Street by R.L. Stine. The Eragon series. The Temeraire books by Naomi Novik. Dragons during the Napoleonic War era. Dragon Riders of Pern. I would laugh or cry as I read. My teenage children hated to see me reading them. I tried to explain that the tears were because I was moved, but they didn't get it then.